Hello, I'm Adam speaking for Group 5. We built Apex Private Capital, a Power BI personal decision support system, or PDSS, for a wealth firm managing 150 families. The problem: portfolio managers waste hours manually stitching together financial data, environmental, social, governance, ESG ratings, and internal value scoring. The solution: one dashboard that instantly screens the S&P 500 for undervalued and ethically traded stocks. For number one, what we're going to go over is a brief overview of our ETL process. And secondly, the live Power BI dashboard, which is 3 pages of holistic screening with risk-reward trade-offs and due diligence. And then 3, why we chose Power BI. Because Excel lacks integrity, Tableau misses calculation depth, and Power BI delivers both. Angel, over to you with ETL.
Thank you. So the first thing we pretty much do is mimic what a real life ETL would do, and from getting different data from different sources. So what we did is pretty much take 2 different data sets. One that is mimicking the financial data, and another one is mimicking the quantitative data. So those are pretty much defined here. You can think of this as different APIs, web scraping processes that we will have in a real scenario. And from there, what we try to do is merge the 2 different data sets using the thicker, which is just the ID from the company. Now, before we actually merge this data, we have to analyze it. We have to check the statistical summary of it just to see if there's any mistakes, any null values, anything that doesn't really make sense. So that'll be the first part. Will be what E stands for in the ETL process, which is going to be the extraction. You can think this as any APIs, like I said before, web scraping, and then the once we have the data, we're going to explore the data. We're going to analyze, if this data is clean or not, ready to be used in Power BI. We don't want to clean anything in Power BI. We just want to consume everything in Power BI. So we first analyze that, and if we find any errors, we find any mistakes, anything that needs to be addressed or transformed, then we take care of that in the T process, which is going to be given in this same Python script from the ETL process. Now, we notice in this, one of the biggest things that we notice is there was some values that were actually wrong in terms of the value that it goes in one single column versus the other one. We noticed that for the high, the 52-week low and the 52-week high, the values were inverted. That means that the values that we saw on the 50-week low were actually high, and the ones on the high were actually low. So they were inverted. In order to address this and not to have any sort of like problems later on the dashboard, we invert this back in the process of the transformation given in this part of the script. Once we have that already fixed and many other things as well, we check one last time if everything is looking fine, if things are making sense in the transformation part. Once that is done, then we load this and this data into emerging part. So you can think of this as the last part of the process where everything is already looking good, is clean, and then we want to make sure we have only one single source of truth. In this case, the first part of the project, the first 2 phases, require us to create a CSV. So that is what we did first, just to analyze the results. We created one CSV, we merged the data, and then we were able to actually have that output on Excel. But in order to make this a little bit more like a real world scenario, we actually utilize MySQL. In this case, it's a very powerful tool to just create a data warehouse. If this actually will actually grow in the future, we will actually have more tables, and we'll be able to do more things with this tool that's supposed to do in Excel. So we move away from Excel as a main source of truth, and instead we created we created a database in MySQL according to the different columns, needs that we have for the report. And once we created that database here, we were able to input all the different data that we previously transformed and cleaned directly into MySQL. And this is how it looked. Everything from the qualitative data, from the quantitative data, from the financial aspects, anything that we cleaned before, anything was here merged by the script given by the symbol that will be the ticker or the company ID. From there, once we already have the database already set, we have all the information that we need. It is pretty much clean. We go ahead and connect this to Power BI. This is exactly where in real life you have the communication, the connection between the business side and the back end of the project. So in order to connect to MySQL, you go to get data, and then from here you search for the connector for MySQL. And in a real world scenario, you will have a connection to the server, to the cloud server with different credentials. But since it's just like a prototype, we just pretty much connect to a local host. Once you get this connection set, you will be able to see all the data that you currently are able to see in the database as well. Now, for the sake of this project, and just to make sure that whoever opens up this PVIX is able to see this data, we are pretty much connecting this using just pretty much a snapshot of the data that we have at the time. Now, in production, this can actually hold true still, but you will have to have some automatically update, some refresh every single hour or every other day, whatever the business needs is at a time. But for the sake of this, we only have taken the snapshot of whatever we have here. That means that if we change something here at the time, we would have to manually update the report to see the reflection on to see the changes reflected on the report. But this can be altered, like I said, in a actual business production scenario. Now, from here, what we have to do first, before we start to create any kind of visualizations, KPIs, tables, everything we need for the report, we have to make sure that we have the connections set, and we have the measures as well that will actually give life to the KPIs. In this case, we create over 5 different measures just to make sure that those things are aligned to what we want to see in the report. From very basic stuff, from a little bit more complex, measures, just to make sure that we have, the averages and the different values for the metrics. From there, once we already have all the different measures, tables, data, everything that we need, we are ready to start building the report. We decided to create 3 different pages that will give life and will give a lot of insights to the analyst to make decisions based on what he's looking or she's looking at in their report. So the first page that we created is the investment screener.
So having incorporated all the metrics we have, we came up with 3 sections. So looking from the investment screen, now we're looking at 505 companies, 106 industries, have 11 sectors, and the average P earnings per share is 24.8%. So my left-hand side incorporate the financial data, and then the left-hand side takes into the qualitative data. So for instance, taking a company like Apple, for instance, Apple kind of they are performing or looking at their P benchmark to the average. This one, their earnings, their price is not too high, it's kind of moderate. And also if you look at their ESCG, they are kind of low, which kind of they are performing a bit better as compared to other companies. So it will be one of the companies in the portfolio to really look out for, and also invest in, since the return on investment is going to, because the price is not too high as compared to the return on investment. We can also look at, so we can play around this and different look at Amazon as well, Google, Alphabet, their financial data, their the price per share is too high as compared to the return on investment. So here, for instance, if someone should invest in this, they might end up investing more than how much they are going to get from the return on their investment. And their ECGs, they are not really performing well. It's kind of medium. Sometimes they trade their, whereas for sometimes the environmental, like the contribution they do is kind of medium. So it's not that good, but it's okay as compared to their competitors. And also their PE ratio is 31.8, which is above the benchmark set, and also the average P, which is the average is 24.8. The ECG is also 24.2. Yes, so this is how the investment score screener looks like. It tells you more details about each of the companies and when you go to the sectors as well.
Right. Then if we move on to the next page, this is more of a map of opportunity here. So let's say we already are looking into analyzing Apple. We want to make sure that we know a little bit more about Apple and how it's behaving against other people, other companies, right? So let's say, you want to see if Apple is sitting on, on a place where it's not too risk to invest in this company financially, but also it's a company that on the long term, based on the ESG data, we are sure that they are going to be standing long term because they are, a good company that treat their employees right. So it's a combination between these two things, right? So let's say we want to see Apple. you know, Apple stands in a place where it's below the, high risk for the quantitative data. That is the ESG. That means that it's behaving or treating, as a company, their employees right. They are good with the environment. They are, they are socially active in promoting stuff and like giving away maybe donations, different stuff in the nature of quantitative data. But they as well are on the left side of the how much the price of the stock is versus the return of the investment, right? So say if Apple stocks is $10 per stock, and then you're getting in return maybe $9, that'll be a good relationship, and that'll be a better PE ratio. So in this case, the typical analyst will go like, "Hey, Apple is actually a good bet, right? It's a good based on the data, based on what I'm seeing from this opportunity map, I can already tell that Apple will be a great investment, right? And again, this will not be a final decision, but will be a way to know better. Now, think of this as something more, more in bulk. You can see more companies and you want to go like, okay, this is my safe space. This is my safe, box that all the companies that are full or like standing here and this exact box are companies that we can actually invest in because we know they are low risk. And at the same time, they're not bad in the PE ratio as well. All the companies that are pretty much here are they are pretty much good on the high risk for the ESG, the quantitative data. Then that means that they probably could do a good job in, treating their employees and all the different stuff like donations and things like that. But they are not, they are not really doing a great job in terms of the financial part, right? They are not having a good return of investment. So therefore, it's a high risk in that way. But sometimes you can invest in companies that are pretty much good. They have good quantitative things or data, but they are not financially good right now. So you can keep those companies, close, but then you want to miss this sector right here. Why? Because this there's the two parts like the where they exceed the quantitative data and they exceed the financial part as well. So I can actively just click this and say, hey, this is not Occidental Petroleum. I'm not going to invest in this. I'm not going to look into this right now because based on the data that we have at the time, this is giving me high risk for everything, right? Whereas if I click this guy, I can see, hey, this is a company that is pretty much good on both sides, and so on for the different part of the map. Now, what if I want to go ahead and just see more just by clicking on that and just like more easily find out who is doing great, who is like a safe bet? I can just slice this and go ahead and zoom in into the map, and I can go ahead and just see all of them, all of those people who are pretty much safe. Look at this, all of this different companies that are safe to actually explore and to take care, like to really take seriously. So if I'm an analyst, I can just go here, click this guy, Johnson & Johnson. Oh, okay, Johnson & Johnson is a safe bet. So from here, you can start to click multiples and just like create a safe list of companies that the analyst can actually explore. This is not a final decision. This is just a tool that will allow someone to filter out what will be a actual safe investment or what will be worth to keep on exploring. And now from this, let's say we still want to explore Apple, right? Because Apple is still a great investment and somebody is already researching this. You go then to the financial part, and the next page is pretty much all about the financial aspect of the company. Because at the end of the day, for this business, it's all about if the company is going to make money or not. So if it's already in a position where the quantitative data is telling you that they are good, they are solid, then you can go ahead and just proceed to the financial part and say, hey, are we going to dive deeper into this? And we're going to see if they are worth to really invest in and make ultimately a decision. Now, I'm going to look for Apple right here with a filter. So Apple. And then I can see how Apple is doing financially based on my data, right? So this is a very high level as of today, but pretty much from the data that we have, there's no actual daytime or any specific time or date that we can use, but we just assume that it is any given date. Usually, these companies or this analysis that you run for the stock will be like a year research. It will be like what happened in 2024, for instance, and you get the what was the return of investment, what was the net income, what was the revenue, all the different stuff is usually analyzed yearly. In this case, the data set that we found that was very aligned to what we wanted to do did not have any year or any month to it. So we would have to assume as a premise that we would not work with any specific year, but this will work for if we ever have that specific column any given time. But let's assume this is 2024. This is saying, hey, on the week 2052, the lowest of the lowest the stock for Apple went was $131, let's say. Then, the highest that it ever gotten in that same week was 180, and that the current price is 155. So this helps the analyst to say, hey, this stock actually grew in the same week from 131 to 180. So there's this 30 points, $30, almost $29 that of a difference. And that gives a little bit of more information to see how there's actually revenue here. I could actually do $29 per each stock that I have. Now from there, if you're diving deeper into this, you want to check, what's the market cap as well. Say you want to do more of a general inspection, and you want to see on the financial aspect, what's the market cap for, through the sectors. And you want to see, I want to just see what are the companies that have the biggest market cap, right? I can go ahead and check this slicer. I can just this funnel, and I can just see, hey, IT is the biggest. Okay, I want to check only IT companies. I click here, and all of these are IT companies that I can check real time, real quickly about the prices, about the current financial information just by clicking the funnel. If I wanted the multiples as well, I can just click multiples, and they will give me again more of the information that I'm looking for. Now, if I want to see I want to see the highest stock price, I can just filter here. I can just click here. I can see that Google has the highest, and so if I can compare it between them, like this has like $300 of difference, and then I can make a decision. This is financially, an opportunity, but at the same time, if I go back to the quantitative data, I can see that Google is not really safe in terms of the ESG, right? So again, this gives a lot of information in those regards. Now, if you go down here, we can see a trade map of the different sectors based on the market cap as well. So if you start from the beginning, you can pretty much start to check every single sector. For instance, if we want to go to, again, IT, we can just open the highest value for the market cap, and I can already see which one is better which one is highest, which one is lowest, and then from there I can start to make decisions as well. Now, if you go down here to the final table, this is a more in-depth, more detailed view of what's going on financially for each company and by the sector. So again, if I want to go to IT, I can just click here, and then I will see all the different industries for that specific sector. I can see specifically a company. I can see, for instance, how Citrix Systems is doing based on the PE ratio. Again, what's the price versus the earnings? If this is already automatically colored green, yellow, or red, depending on the level there are. So if it's like below the average, it will be like more of a yellow, and if it's like very, very low, it will be more of like an actual green color because it's below what the score for PE is. But if it's like higher than the 25 that we have set, which is the average, then it will get actually red, or it will get different colors depending on the average for the sector specifically. And that is true for the different other metrics. In this case, the dividend yield is one of the biggest as well. Depending on the threshold that we set, and that will be different for every business, then we can color automatically. So whoever is looking at this real time can always go like very quickly just by seeing this. Oh, this like completely red. I'm not going to look into this. There's green here. Oh, this is something I want to see. And then it's going to dive deeper into the actual companies that actually have the green color, and that'll be easier for them to make a decision faster to actually analyze something like this. So that's the core of the report. But then the last thing that we want to mention is about the workspaces. So real quick, in a real world scenario, we will have different users, different people using the different reports, and we can actually have different sections for the business. So areas for the business like HR, payroll, and in this case, the financial aspect, the portfolio for the companies. Now, say that we have multiple users, and some users do not need to have access, or we don't want to have then access to the HR part. So what we do is that we create different workspaces, and then we allocate the user to that specific workspace. In this case, we have the Apex Private Capital workspace. And in here, we have given access to 3 people. We have different roles. For instance, the admin will be the person who works on the actual report. He can actually update, delete, anything configuration-wise, he can actually, or she can actually do. Then you got the members who can actually just, update the report, make some automations on it and things like that, but he cannot actually delete anything. And then we just have the viewer. The viewer will be someone who just consumes a report, a low-level type of user who's just only going to be, reading the actual results from the report. Why this is important? It is important to just keep up the secureness, like the security of the report, the integrity of the report as well. We want to make sure that we move on from a tool that is like Excel that actually has a lot of human error, or it can crash for a lot of data. And so we want to reduce that, and we want to make sure that when we use this type of tools like Power BI, we actually tackle those things where we don't leave any room for any errors like that. And that's why we're going to use workspaces to make sure the integrity of the reports are always there. We can also automate the refresh times for this. We can do, 7 in the morning, 12, 3, we can, so on. We can do the refresh. So the whole system, the ETL process, everything can be automated at the end of the day, and the end user can actually just consume the data very quickly. And the final thing that we did is we created a mobile version as well, a mobile layout, if you will, or view. And this is exactly the same thing, but it is in a very nice, easy to access view. So whoever, let's say the supervisor or someone is, on a business trip, he can always, or she can always grab her phone, and they can access it really quickly to the report at any given moment, and they will see exactly what the other person are seeing on the desktop computer or laptop. So with that, I give it away back to Adam.
Thanks, Angel. The takeaway: Apex Private Capital replaces hours of manual work with just seconds to gain valuable insight. merging financials, ESG, and values into one interactive screen. Power BI plus MySQL gives auditability, portability, and real-time relative benchmarks. What are the next steps? Live data feeds, client exclusions, enterprise deployments. The bottom line is that managers become strategists, not just data clerks. Please reach out if you'd like to invest holistically.
Thank you.